In this video, the Sandbox ergonomic expert Frank Maas will go over techniques and general guidelines that will help you to avoid chronic pain like carpal tunnel syndrome, increase the quality of your performance and practice, improve your endurance, and help with other common side effects like getting cold hands. Keep in mind that while this video has been made with StarCraft in mind, the principles apply equally as well to all computer-based esports as well as general computer use. For your convenience, a written guide has been provided and is linked in the description of this video. Because this is a more comprehensive video, the table of contents has been listed in the description with timestamps so you can quickly get to the parts of the video that you want to see most. Without any further ado, Frank Maas.
First, I want to define the concept ergonomics for this video. That is to create the most efficient, user-friendly and responsible situation of human interaction with systems, tools and activities performed. There are many factors involved with ergonomics. It's not only about the basics like posture, but it's also about things like tension, breathing, mentality, wording of expectations, and even getting into shape before playing a sport, instead of playing a sport to get into shape. And this will be covered as well. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So if you have a problem that's not directly connected to posture, but is hard to pinpoint, like for example you breathe very badly when you're playing a game, you tense up, or you have unrealistic expectation of yourself, this will all contribute to you feeling pain or feeling discomfort while playing the game, in this case StarCraft 2. So to avoid that, you have to look at the big picture. You don't only focus on posture or a simple pain you feel somewhere. You focus on the whole. We will start off with posture, and then in particular sitting position. So when you're sitting on a chair, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. The first thing, making sure that your knees are on a 90-degree angle when you're sitting down. Secondly, there's a trick to make sure that your back is in a straight position with a slight curvature like it should be. And that is to slouch over when you're sitting in your chair like this. Just leave everything hanging, then push your chest up and forward to the max. And from there, slowly release a little bit, about 10%. And then you will have your normal sitting posture that you will use for playing StarCraft. So important to know is that you can't sit in the straight position indefinitely. If you can, you're either superhuman or you have an incredible amount of pain suppression because your muscles are going to hurt. So important is to have some variance in your sitting position. Generally it's good to have 90 degrees with your back to your legs, but you can go as far as 135 degrees. Anything between that is generally okay, as long as you shift around a little bit. So you don't sit in the same position for an hour, but if you have played a game of like 15 minutes, just shift a little bit if you can with your chair, or just take a micro break, which I'll get into later. But generally, shift between 135 and 90 degrees, see what suits you best, and try to have a little variance. That's key to making sure that your back doesn't get stressed out too much. So we've talked about sitting position and the variation in degrees, but now I want to talk about cushions, support pillows you can get to support your back and maintain a proper posture when you want to. One thing to note, don't just go out and buy one of these. Make sure you go to an expert and ask them to examine your back to know what type of back you have. For example, for me, I have a flat back, so I have a very thin, soft cushion to put behind in order to maintain posture, but you might need a very thick and hard cushion because your back isn't flat but a little bit more curved. So make sure to check this beforehand and don't just buy something and destroy your back potentially. Okay, moving on to the screen height. So it is important to have a certain angle when you're watching your screen, and this should generally be around the level where if you're sitting upright, your eyes are on the same level as the top third of your screen. So if you look directly at your screen, you shouldn't be at the top or even over it, because you have to bend your neck down. That's generally not an ideal position to sit in. You also don't want to be too low, same effect applies. So what you want to do is make sure that you elevate the screen. If you have a BenQ or something else, you can even just raise the screen itself. In my case, I use a nifty box. Make sure your eyes match the upper third when you're looking straight forward. So with a good posture in terms of eyes to screen, there's also importance with the neck posture. So you want to make sure that your neck isn't hunched forward like most people do when they get really intensely into the game. They sit like this. And that's not good for your neck because it stiffens and such. What you want to do is pretend you have a string attached to the crown of your head. And you just make sure that your head is more straight. Another thing you can do is make like this prayer gesture. Just put it against yourself. And you can feel when it's in a natural position. So you don't have to push all the way in because that's too much tension. You also don't want it to be too much like this. Just subtle. That it's almost straight. It has a little bit of a curve, but it's not overly done. It's just natural. And that in combination with sitting straight and using the technique I showed earlier where you just slouch over, push your chest out, and then gently relax a bit. You got your base posture for playing. But this is something you do not want to maintain for too long in a row. Now lastly, I want to talk about the arms and the shoulders. So what's really important is to find a position in which your arms aren't strained too much and in which your shoulders can maintain a relaxed position, like just hanging instead of climbing upwards. So what you want to do is see for yourself what works best. Most people tend to have their keyboard and mouse closer, so they'll have it to the edge. And what that does is when you're sitting like this, if you have armrests, this can work, but if you don't, this can be a detrimental position if you're not well trained. It will exhaust your muscles faster, so if you're not too strong in your musculature, don't try to do this posture for too long in a row. Like pro gamers usually sit in this posture for hours on end before they take a real proper break. Maybe they take some micro breaks, but in general, don't do this for hours. So an alternative is to put everything backward, either halfway, that you have a little bit of your arm resting on it, or all the way, that you can put your entire arm on the desk and still have a relaxed shoulder that's hanging. This will feel very strange when you first try it, but what it will accomplish is that you will have less strain on your shoulders. You will also have less strain on your arms. And one mistake I want to point out that most players make when they try to transition to this and try this out is they put incredible pressure on the desk with their arms and they push their fingers down on the keyboard really hard. But what you want to do is just relax your arms, relax your shoulders, so you maintain this mobility and maintain supple fingers actually. So next up is micro breaks. Now that we've covered posture, there's something important you can apply in the form of micro breaks, which is making sure that the tension on your muscles isn't of a too long duration, because muscles aren't built to last that long. You have different kinds of muscles which I'm not going into right now, but safe to say it's better to take frequent breaks than to have these long marathons where you push game after game after game after game and then feel back pain the day later. So what you want to do ideally is after every 1 or 2 games, or generally 25 to 30 minutes, take a small break, get up, do some stretches, do some light exercising, move around a bit, walk around, play with your dogs, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you're not sitting in that same position. Move around, get some blood flow going, sit back down after a nice short break of about 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how you feel. Listen to your body in this. In order to play a sport, you want to get into shape first. If you want to prevent injury, you want to have strong muscles, strong tendons, in order to cope with the stress that is put on your body by playing a sport or StarCraft 2, which is a hell of an intensive mechanical game. So what you want to do is make sure that you apply a few rules to your training. These are really simple rules of thumb that you can apply to pretty much anything training related, as long as the exercising is not like on a really high level. So whenever you exercise, make sure you allow your body 24 to 48 hours of rest. Why? Because if you don't, the micro damage from previous training will not be recovered, and when you train again, you will get more micro damage, and it accumulates into an injury. If you give adequate rest, so 24 to 48 hours, then your body has recovered from the stress that has been put on it, even improved a little bit and adapted, so you have a little bit more to go for. And then when you train and you take a little bit of rest again, you can keep building up that strength, and you can keep going higher, and you will reduce the risk of injury. Furthermore, what's really important is that you have stretches and exercises that are tailored to you, the individual. Not everyone has the same body. We all have different things that we need to cover. So the best advice I can give you is to go see a professional. For example, a physiotherapist. Tell them about the activity you want to perform. In this case, a lot of computer mechanical activity with micro movements as well. Ask them to create a training program that includes stretches and exercises that are tailored specifically to these activities, so you can have the best shot at preventing injuries and being prepared to last. It's really important if you're a player to make sure that you don't have a lot of tension when you're playing. It's really important to make sure that you're aware of how you breathe, how you sit, and how your mindset is throughout the game. So when you are tense up while playing like this, your shoulders are almost higher than your head, which is weird by the way, then you need to make sure that you don't. Players who can relax and breathe normally during a game can last 3 to 4 times longer than someone who doesn't. Keep that in mind when you try to get through a marathon of gaming or try to qualify for a tournament where you have to play like 5-6 matches in a row and don't have much time for a break. It's not a sandbox video without a little bit of deliberate practice in it. It's to deliberately focus on your posture, your breathing and your tension while playing. So make this one of your top priorities if you are not managing yourself well. Make sure that you breathe normally when you're playing a game. If you master that, make sure you don't have tension while playing. Stay relaxed and calm. This will also prevent cold hands, by the way. So this is a good step to make towards becoming a better player and to apply to every area in your life. Many people, when they experience pain or injury, develop a kind of fear of that pain. They try to avoid activities that include this pain, so effectively you are disabling yourself into not doing something anymore. And what this does is cause more problems over time. So ideally, if you're really scared about the pain, always go see an expert. But one good rule to follow is, if you have pain and you decreased the activity but not stop, and the pain fades away or becomes less, to slowly pick up the activity again and build it up. If the pain lasts for more than a few hours after an activity, that's the time where you should check it out probably. So stress and emotions can play an effect on the body. It can create a physical pain response to how you are feeling emotionally or because of the stress. And this is a mindset problem. So one of the things you need to be able to do is sit back and think for yourself, okay, why am I tense right now? Why am I feeling pain? Am I getting angry at the game? Am I getting angry at myself? Make sure you deal with this emotion and let loose of it. Let loose of the stress, calm down and deal with the emotion. And you will find that oftentimes the pain will lessen or even fade away.